Hello everyone, it's Sophia and welcome back to Mindful Corner. I'm super excited for this episode, even though I am unfortunately alone today. I am not joined by Anna, but I still wanted to film an episode for you guys and cover something that I believe is really important. Today we're going to be going into a deep dive on bipolar disorder, which is an often overlooked and underaddressed mental health disorder. The National Bipolar Awareness Day was also recently. It was on March 30th. So we figured, why not cover this now? It's better late than never. So without further ado, let's dive in. So first, we're going to talk about what bipolar is and how it's identified. So, according to the World Health Organization, bipolar disorder is a mental health condition that affects a person's mood, energy, activity, and thought, and is characterized by manic or hypomanic and depressive episodes. And to go into some stats before we really go into what the symptoms are, approximately 5.7 million adult Americans are affected every year. The typical onset age is around 25 years old. And it can result in a reduction of 9.2 years in lifespan. As many as 1 in 5 patients commit suicide, according to the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. So I really did not know much about bipolar disorder. I mean, I'd heard of it before, looking into it for this episode, but I really, had no background about it. I think it's definitely kind of like how I said before, it's very overlooked, underaddressed, and very misunderstood. People have a general idea of what it is, but they don't know how to really talk to those people that are dealing with it and how to sort of support them. So really that's why I was encouraged to film this episode, was because of my own lack of awareness. And I figured if I'm lacking awareness as someone with a literal mental health podcast, I can't even imagine, what the whole world is thinking. So I'm going to go into some of the symptoms. First of all, just some things that make it unique from other mental health disorders. So I have the Mayo Clinic site pulled up, and there's several types that it lists. So there's actually sort of certain levels of bipolar, which I didn't even know. There's bipolar 1, which means you've had at least one manic episode that may come before or after hypomanic or major depressive episodes. In some cases, mania may cause a break from reality, which that, as some may know, is psychosis. And then bipolar 2 is if you've had at least one major depressive episode and at least one hypomanic episode, but you've never had a manic episode. So it's a little bit confusing, but there's those two distinctions. This isn't really symptoms. I guess these are kind of just the different types of bipolar and related disorders. There's a related disorder that some might find too that also really people don't really know about, they may be confusing with bipolar disorder. It's cyclothymia. I cannot say that. But it means you've had at least 2 years or 1 year in children and teenagers of many periods of hypomania symptoms and periods of depressive symptoms. And the symptoms are less severe than major depression, but it's still characterized under something. Then there's other types that it talks about that are related, that can be caused by drugs and alcohol due to medical conditions, or strokes that can induce certain things. So it does also say here that bipolar 2 is not a milder form of bipolar 1. It's just a separate diagnosis, because while the manic episodes of bipolar 1 can be very severe, people with bipolar 2 can be depressed for longer periods of time. So it's kind of like, there's just two different byproducts of these two types. So it's not like one is not more severe than the other. So really, if you are to hear that someone has bipolar 1 or 2, you shouldn't discredit what they're going through. They are definitely going through something still. And then it says it can start at any age, but usually it's diagnosed in the teenage years or early 20s. So now, as I said before, I'm going to actually go into some of the symptoms. So the first one it lists, which some are probably more aware of, is mania and hypomania. So this is really just seeing someone be much more energetic and active than usual, or they might become more agitated. A lot of these people can feel overly confident. They just, because of the energy they have, they need much less sleep, and they usually are very talkative. And this might seem like something that is, I don't want to say good, because really, these behaviors can just lead to recklessness and to people getting hurt. But it's like, this isn't the side of bipolar that people worry about until it gets extreme, obviously. But yeah, to continue, they have racing thoughts. They are very easy to distract. And then they make poor decisions as a result of these kind of more reckless, active, agitated behaviors. So they might go on shopping sprees or just make very foolish other, monetary investments. So there's a lot of things that go into this. And I think a lot of people can confuse what some people might be going through and say that they just got a burst of motivation, or they just got over their depression. They must just be, they just must be happy, which, yes, that might be true. But if you're noticing these symptoms in someone, you should definitely first see if there are some underlying causes, like, for example, bipolar, because addressing that and getting it treated as soon as possible is super important. And then the next part of bipolar is the major depressive episode, which includes symptoms that are severe enough to cause you to have a hard time just doing normal activities, which really saddens me, because this is, pretty characteristic of a lot of mental health disorders. With me, someone that has OCD, it is very hard to go about my own activities because of racing intrusive thoughts. It's very hard to get things done when you have these intrusive thoughts constantly bothering you. And same with depression, which this is a depressive episode, but obviously it's different because it jumps back and forth between the mania. So activities that might be hard include going to work or school, social activities, going to the gym, getting along with others, whatever it might be. Mayo Clinic continues and says that they're just going to likely have a depressed mood. They might feel sad, empty, hopeless, tearful. Children and teens who are depressed can also seem very irritable, angry, or hostile. This is pretty, also disclaimer, what I'm saying here is a depressive episode. It's a period, and a lot of it is going to be symptoms of just a normal depression, but you really should not, again, discredit any of this and just label it as something without further research if you're seeing it in your loved one or someone you know. If they lose a lot of weight, if they sleep too little or too much, have lost interest in activities. Again, these are very characteristic of, a general depressive disorder, but again, it's different. They feel worthless, too guilty, feeling guilty when it's not necessary, having a very hard time making decisions, and at the end, thinking about planning or attempting suicide, which, remember, as I mentioned before, a lot of people that have bipolar disorder have committed suicide, and that's, the key reason why I wanted to talk about this was just because of how little people know about it and how much harm it truly does. And then some other features are just anxious distress. This is unrelated to, those two periods, the manic and the depressive episodes. But these are just kind of general things that happen, or anxious distress, melancholy, psychosis. And then the timing it talks about says it can be mixed. You can have symptoms of both at the same time, which I did not know. Or you can have rapid cycling, which is where you have 4 mood episodes in the past year, switching between mania, hypomania, major depression. And it also says that bipolar symptoms may happen even when you're pregnant. So this is something that a lot of people also don't know. Especially me. I've heard of, the things that happen postpartum. postpartum disorder, I believe, just the episodes that can happen. But I didn't realize that, symptoms of bipolar could happen like while you're pregnant, which interesting to know about. So, and then it also talks about symptoms in children and teens, which are pretty distinct. They can have very distinct major depressive or hypomanic episodes, and their patterns are a little bit different because their moods can shift pretty fast during episodes, and there might even be periods without any sort of mood symptoms between episodes. So in children, again, it's very important that we recognize this and that we go and we help those people that we are recognizing these symptoms in, because the earlier they get help, the better. Because truly, one extreme can lead to another, and you just don't want harm upon the people you love. And again, when to see a doctor, here it says something really important that I am not going to claim as my own words, obviously. This is what Mayo Clinic says, and I quote, "Despite their mood extremes, people with bipolar disorder often don't know how much being emotionally unstable disrupts their lives and the lives of their loved ones. As a result, they don't get the treatment that they need." Truly so sad that a lot of times people can disrupt their relationships because of these extremes, and you might be angry with someone because they did something reckless, or they're in a major depression and they aren't texting you as much, they're not hanging out with you. But it's so important to just recognize the why before you make any sort of assumptions. To speak for myself, I think there's been so many times where I've personally been angry with my friends because they haven't treated me the way I've wanted to. And it's so important to recognize that people go through things, and that people can, not even just generalizing with bipolar here, but just any sort of mental disorder that someone might have. You don't know. So many people still don't know that I have OCD. So many people may not know that Anna suffers from her own mental disorder, from depression. So it's really important that if someone, yes, it's hurtful to be treated in a way that feels unfair, or that feels, like you're being disregarded, but it's very important to learn why rather than make assumptions. And if the why could be so much more than you really think it is. And then it says when to get emergency help, a little bit later, going back to the Mayo Clinic. It says if thoughts about suicide come up, obviously, and any sort of behaviors that are trying to act on those thoughts, there are a lot of resources here. We have harped on these resources as well, just on our socials and at our meetings. But remember, you can call or text 988 if you are ever experiencing, or if you know someone experiencing those symptoms, to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Services are free and confidential. And there's also a Spanish language phone line that is at 1-888-628-9454. Hopefully I said that right, but if not, it's 1-888-628-9454. Perfect. Yeah, so those were the symptoms. I hope that was pretty informative. I pretty much pulled directly from Mayo Clinic, but really to discuss, I have learned a lot even just by reading, and it's so important. It doesn't seem like it's that essential to know about these things, but when you realize how many people are affected, it said millions of people. And, this could be your loved ones. Most people that have mental disorders don't really like to open up about them. I did not want to open up about my OCD for many years until I realized that I am a yapper, I have a voice, and I want to use it for good. And I want people to realize that they can open up. But obviously a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing that. And in those cases, it's important that you make an effort to reach out yourself. So if you're listening to this and you know someone that is going through something that you don't really understand, or you see these symptoms in them, please reach out. That's just the first step. Please just reach out to them. Let them know that you're there as support. It's so important. Just letting people know that you're praying for them, that you're that you care for them is so important. And that's something that helped me in my mental health journey was knowing that I had so much support, but there's so many people around the world that don't have those levels of support. So again, reach out. Now we're going to go into some causes. Really, it's not known apparently. So there are some factors that people credit, such as biological differences. It says people with bipolar disorder may have some, it appears that they have physical changes in their brain. And it says the importance of these changes is still uncertain, which is why more research is needed in these areas, which, again, I didn't even know that the causes were kind of unknown, which is kind of scary. So it's important that we support these causes and we support the research that's being done behind the scenes. And then it also says that genetics can play a big role. It's more common in people who have a first-degree relative, like a sibling or a parent that has the condition. And again, there's still a lot of research being done in this area, and that needs to be done. And they're trying to find the specific genes that do cause this. So I really do have to look into the organizations and the research institutes that are doing this, because it's really important that we, keep an eye out and that we support them as much as we can. I mean, obviously there's not unlimited money and there's not unlimited time and efforts that we can put into all these things, but it's important that we try, because the amount of people, again, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but the amount of people that are being impacted, it's so sad. It's saddening. And as someone, I didn't really understand it. I never, obviously, when you don't have any sort of mental disorder you're going through, or when you don't know and you're kind of doing okay, it feels like, it's not something you care about, obviously. And now that I've gone through it, I know how hard it is and how, the quality of life, I mean, it sounds so dramatic, but really the quality of my life really went down. I was not able to do the things that I loved. I was not able to love the people the way I wanted to. And it really it saddens me that, that was with me getting so much support, with me on medication, and the amount of people that don't have these resources around the world, whether if it is they're in a low-income country, they don't have much family or support around them, or whatever it is, if their institutions aren't doing the work, then... And obviously with these under-researched, it's probably getting researched now, but, these under-addressed issues, nevertheless, bipolar disorder, just all the other disorders that I don't even know the names of, that people are dealing with, it's so sad. It's important that we do the best we can and let people know that even if we're, millions of miles away, we're still supporting them. And that is really the goal of this podcast, of this club, of this media org, whatever we are at this point, is so other people can know, not just people at FSU, but people all around the world, in the community, in other countries that are dealing with these things, that know people that are dealing with these things or have dealt with these things. Do it for them. All right. I've been going to so many rants. Sorry, I'm super passionate about this stuff. Now, these are kind of sad things that can raise the risk of getting bipolar disorder or causing an episode, which, again, it's having a first-degree relative, someone like a parent, a sibling, periods of high stress, which high stress could be anything from grief of losing someone you love to, if you're if you're pushing yourself in academics or in sports and you are, it's at an extreme, it can really make you more at risk, which is crazy and so sad, or in drug or alcohol misuse. Next, some complications that can occur due to bipolar disorder. I'm sorry if this episode sounds like me just reading facts off. I'm going to try to include more of my dialogue as I read them, but it's just important that we know the facts first. And as someone that is not educated about this, it's so important to know these first. And it might be it might seem boring at first, but you don't realize how important it is. And And it says left untreated, bipolar disorder can lead to serious problems. Again, even though drug and alcohol can cause bipolar, can lead, it's kind of just like a cycle. It can lead to the misuse of it. As we've mentioned, a lot of people with bipolar have had suicidal thoughts or have attempted suicide, committed suicide. There's legal, financial problems, going back to the reckless decision-making, trouble getting along with others, and then poor work or school performance. And then I was actually talking about this before, and I'm glad that this website included a section about it, but there's a lot of things that can, like conditions that can occur at the same time that people might recognize more than bipolar, and not realize that someone has it or that someone is dealing with bipolar if they haven't been like transparent about it. So examples include anxiety disorders, eating disorders, ADHD, PTSD, borderline personality traits or disorders, alcohol or drug misuse, and then physical health problems like heart disease, headaches, obesity, thyroid issues. So many things that can happen at the same time. And to know that people around the world are dealing with this and don't have the support that they deserve is incredibly, incredibly disheartening. Prevention. Now we get to the hopeful part. There is always hope. There is always hope. So unfortunately, there's no sure way to prevent bipolar disorder, which, sounds hopeless, but it says getting treated as soon as you can, as soon as you notice this, can help stop bipolar disorder or other mental health conditions from getting worse. And if you've been diagnosed, there are some ways you can stop minor symptoms from becoming full-blown episodes or mania or depression. So the first is to pay attention to warning signs, is what it says here. I really do feel bad that I'm just kind of reading off of here, but anyways, if you find patterns, if you talk to people and you realize that these symptoms are happening early on, it can stop these episodes from getting worse. So if you're noticing these symptoms in yourself, or if you're noticing them in others, like even if it's at this micro level that doesn't seem like, maybe that's just like a little period. No, like if you are noticing these things, at least just get it checked out first. So call a healthcare professional or mental health professional if you feel like these things are starting to happen. Get enough sleep because, as we know, sleep is good. 8 hours if we can. I mean, I am such a hypocrite because I probably slept like 6 last night. But anyways, sleep disruptions often cause bipolar instability. Stay away from drugs and alcohol. These can make your symptoms worse. And as much as society loves to push, drugs and alcohol all the time, if you're noticing these symptoms, just please do what you can to stay away, or keep the people that are noticing these things to stay away. And then take medicines as directed. So it actually says here, stopping your medicine or lowering your dose on your own may cause withdrawal effects, and then symptoms may get worse or return. I cannot speak on behalf of someone with bipolar or someone taking that sort of medication, but as someone who has been very reckless with her medication that she's supposed to take every day for OCD, please take your medication. Like and this is me at the lowest dose, if I at the lowest possible dose, like a dose that some like psychiatrists don't even see as like effective in any way, like that's how low it is. If I could get withdrawals off of that, imagine the withdrawals from a normal or like relatively high dose of a medication that's helping you. Please take your medication appropriately. I actually am now, and especially because I am at a higher dose and I, want to not have withdrawals. Like my withdrawal symptoms are more like nausea, headaches, dizziness, things like that. But I don't know what the extent of it could be. I haven't really researched that, but it could be drastic. So please, if you are on any sort of medication for a mental health condition, please take it every day when you need to. Listen to your doctors. They're doctors for a reason. So yeah. Okay, yeah, that's my deep dive into bipolar disorder. Let me see if there's sort of any more information I can find. But yeah, I guess I'll give my 2 cents on this though. first of all, I do have some resources listed that I found. There's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which there is a chapter here at FSU. So if you are at FSU or at a university that has a chapter, I highly recommend reaching out because they do great work. There's the International Bipolar Foundation, the IBF, for I believe more just educational resources. There's also the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, the DBSA. And yeah, educational resources, wellness trackers, and other support tools are available on these websites and through these foundations. Again, call or text 988 if you are in need of immediate crisis support at any point. You can also always reach out to us at mindfulcornerpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also check out the DBSA hotline. You can just text DBSA to 741-741. So 2741s. So yeah, I hope this wasn't, too boring of an episode. I mean, I tried to put my insight in there and make it less of just a fact reading, but again, it's important to know the facts. I hope you all are doing well. We are nearing the end of the semester, which is so crazy. Like, I'm about to be a sophomore in college. Like, what? I was literally a freshman in high school 2 seconds ago. It's just crazy how time flies, but I'm so excited for this new chapter. I've switched my major for like the 70th time, but we're working through it. I'm trusting that God has a plan and that everything will work out. It's hard because, it seems like right now I'm very behind everyone else, which is a whole nother issue, but I'm working towards my goals. One thing I always try to remember is that I need to focus on the present, which is so hard. I don't know what it is. My roommate and I were talking about it. It's so hard. We were talking about how, like, as much as we want to be home right now for summer break, it's like the second we get to summer break, we're going to miss being in the dorm and being at college again. So it's like, it seems like you can never be content with where you are if you're always looking towards the future and never just focusing on the amazing things you have in the present. So yeah, when it comes to, again, I tried to talk about it as much as I could. If you know someone that has bipolar disorder, going back to bipolar disorder, or if you're recognizing the symptoms in someone else, please reach out to them. That's the first step, and let them know that these resources are available and that you are there for them. Sometimes just that interpersonal care and support can go such a long way. It has for me. It has, I know, for so many people. Let them know that you care for them, you're praying for them, that you value them, and, direct them to this episode even. This episode has so many facts that people should know about these conditions if they want to learn more about bipolar disorder, or if you know someone, or if you just want to learn more, rewatch the episode. I don't know what I was trying to say there, or re-listen to the episode. This has been a pretty chaotic episode. I feel like, I am actually talking to a wall right now. So hopefully next time I'll do a better job because I'll have Anna here. But yeah, as always, thank you for listening, and we hope that y'all have learned something and taken something away from this episode. It's so important to raise awareness and advocate for these people that are dealing with this, for the people that we love, the people that we don't know, but still love. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time on Mindful Corner. Bye.